Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the After Hours podcast. This week, I have the pleasure of actually having somebody going back. When is it? Almost 10 years ago, when I really started in the mortgage industry. We were working together. We started working together, and it's funny how we were able to. It's amazing how now we can reconnect and actually sit down, and we're in the same business. You've seen tremendous success, and I've always looked up to that. From when we stopped working together, and it's nice to have you, on the podcast, Jeff. So why don't you introduce yourself to the audience, and then we'll get into some details, man.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah. My name is Jeff Behounek. I work with Meadowbrook Financial Mortgage Bankers. So yeah, me and Dino have gone back, 10 years or so.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Worked together. Really first started, we were in the same boat.
I never thought we'd be here, man.
No. To look back, hindsight's 2020 and seeing the whole,
amazing.
kind of the trajectory of how we got here. It's pretty cool. And then to not work together for a while, and then to work again together a while, and then we're kind of in separate places, but still doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's all good.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah,
it's
definitely awesome.
Pleasure to be here. Appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you coming on, man. Yeah. I wanted to, we'll get right into it. So, I know that you've seen a lot of, and I've always talked so highly of you and, what I've seen you do in the business, because we did kind of start together. And, that was when I wasn't even licensed, making phone calls on the phone, connecting people with the guys in the office that were licensed. And, it's amazing to see how far you've come, in this business. And, I want to kind of go back to that time, when we met, at the office. Where'd you kind of start? So I remember you were working in the restaurant or the hospitality business, or what were you doing before you got into the real estate business?
Yeah, I was a bartender. So I was still in college. I was just finishing up. So I was coming in the office like 10 to 3, and then I had a 4 o'clock shift every day.
What made you consider the mortgage business, though? Like, before you got into the business, like, you were bartending, and what made you decide that I want to get into that business?
So really kind of happenstance. So I was on my way out of college, and
Where'd you go to college?
St. Joe's in Patchogue.
Got it.
Yeah, so I was going for a math degree. I was going to be an actuarial scientist, which sounds...
You got to be a scientist.
Yeah, I'm good with numbers. Been good with numbers my whole life.
Nice.
So somebody along the way, I had a couple professors that like, you should really look into this. I was in probability statistics, all that, and they do all risk assessment. Big life insurance companies use them to determine premiums for people based on life expectancy and death rate and all that. So it gets a little morbid, but I did some shadowing, and I was in my junior year, and I hated it. And it was very think tank. You had to pass all these crazy exams that were just number based. There was no face-to-face interaction, which is kind of counter intuitive from a bartender. Yeah, I'm good with numbers, but I also want to have some interaction, have a social aspect.
Right.
So I hated it. So I was venting to my cousin one day. He says, I have a buddy that does something with loans. Do you want to meet him?
How old were you at this point?
I was 23.
Okay.
So I said, yeah, sure. So it ended up being EJ.
Yeah.
So EJ was having a barbecue, and we had a phone call. He said, why don't you come to the barbecue, come with Matt, and we'll have a discussion, see what goes on, what your goals are, what your inspirations are, and stuff like that. We met. We loved each other. It was kind of like, one of those things, we just clicked. And he said, when can you start? And I'll never forget, I started August 4th, 2014. So it was like 3 weeks before my 24th birthday.
That was in the Hot Pog office?
Yeah, that was in the Hot Pog office, yeah. And
2014. So that means I was in the business too. I always forget when I look back and somebody asks me, how long have you actually been in the business?
Yeah.
I mean, I only got licensed, I remember, August 2017, because I failed my test 3 times and had to wait 6 months.
Nice.
Back then, when we used to hang out outside in the parking lot.
Yeah.
But smoking cigarettes, which I don't condone.
Yeah.
Because I haven't done it since.
The past life.
It's amazing that, again, starting in that office, not being licensed, working hard at, what you had to do to put the time in. And I know you learned, the way that I kind of learned in the business, pound the pavement, pound the phones, learn the business, learn the ins and outs, how to get in front of people. And, it's really amazing to see how far, how fast you got in this business. And, talk a little bit about, so I know when you started working with us, and then you went, to I think we were at United then, right?
Yep.
And then you went to Meadowbrook.
Mm-hmm.
How long were you? So you were a loan officer, and then did you have you got into the team thing? Have you started to build a team now?
Now,
Or?
yes.
Yeah.
So now I have two guys that
Nice.
well, a guy and a girl that are kind of like my main two people. Other than that, it's just me still.
Yeah.
So I've been kind of like riding my own coattails for a long time.
A lot of people say it's the best way to be though in this business because sometimes you can't, and sometimes it's hard to rely on people to be like you. I know that
Yeah.
I've always, as a young salesman, and my father always told me this, being in a sales business because he was in sales, at a young age in his 20s. It's always hard when like you're the guy on the weekends, putting the time in or whenever it is, or doing things that the other people aren't doing. You become disappointed.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've tried to work on myself.
Yep.
Working with guys and having a team and building a team and going that route because we know that, we know how we're going to operate on our own and how we operate.
Yeah.
And how certain people operate, but not everybody's that way.
Yeah.
And I would always get disappointed.
Well,
And
it's hard to
I still do.
delegate too.
Yeah, it's hard to delegate.
Because that's the biggest aspect of leadership. Is when you're trying to pass down that information that we were passed down.
Right.
With your new people, and they're not doing things the way that you do it, or your expectations aren't being met.
Right.
Then you start to second guess yourself a little bit in terms of the delegation. How much can I? What's the workload? How much can I push? What expectations are actually realistic?
Yeah, exactly.
So 100%. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's been challenging, but finally kind of getting my feet wet with the team aspect. Yep.
Yeah. What are some of the things you've done to stay successful? I know you've always been successful, and that's what I love about you. Besides you being you, and us having a great time. I mean, we play golf together, and it's amazing to do stuff outside of business, obviously. But what have you done, especially during a year like last year? It's amazing because we're with people that have been in the business for so long, and these people have literally said, I've never seen this market either. So it's pretty crazy to be around people who are in the business 30, 40, however many years they're in the business that have never seen a time like this last year. So what did you do? What are some of the things that you did to, stay busy, during a time like that? Because I know you said you're hitting the year, the ground running, this year, and that's exciting to hear.
Yeah.
That me being in the business, myself as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, well, just to piggyback on that, I think, it was very interesting to see some of the veterans saying they hadn't seen this even before 2008, and that was what we brought up in. Like, how did you
That was
originate
the worst,
loans then?
right.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
worst. And to still be able to do business, it was very encouraging. Like, wow, okay, I have a good model.
Yeah, it's
I'm
amazing.
still getting phone calls. I'm still, interactive. So I would say one thing that I was just very, very focused on was my initial approach with every new client, because that's, you got to build that foundation first. And that's one thing that I feel like I've always done. And I think I don't appreciate it as much as I should, because a lot of people say that immediately when they first started talking to me, there was no other questions about if they were going anywhere else, because I made them feel comfortable. I made them feel there was full transparency. They trusted me. My resume speaks for itself. The majority of the people that I come into contact with, they're good friends with people that I've already done the mortgages for.
Yeah.
The majority of my referral business is past clients. It's not realtors. It's not, CPAs or financial advisors. I do have those as well. More than 50% of the referrals I receive are past clients giving my information out.
Yeah, which just shows how good of a job somebody
Yeah.
or how great of a job somebody does. Because that was my business for years too. Just the same people coming back to you, their family, their cousins,
Brothers, sisters, uncles. Yeah,
exactly the whole thing.
So so just going through that whole year, just trying to every client was just so important, you know. And I think that's something to be said, moving forward, even when times are really good. I think you can't lose track on those little things, the fundamentals of really what got you to where you're at. You always got to pay attention to those things and make sure that you never lose that. It's like, those things, that's what sinks ships. Yeah. If the wood builder in the 1800s, when they were building the ships, if they didn't put the right slats on in the right spots, the ship would flood. It would leak, it would sink, So it's like, just pay attention to those small details from the beginning, and the other stuff kind of just works organically and builds on itself. Yeah. But, I think it's just paying attention to those initial things is really the most important.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like a lot of people struggle with during a time like this, because everybody was so busy during the time like the pandemic when interest rates were so low or low compared to what they were for years. and they kind of took their pedal off the metal.
Yeah. You just sat there and answered your phone all day. You know, it was
no, that's how it was for a long time.
Yeah.
You didn't really have to do that extra stuff.
Fish it
but
with dynamite.
You have to get back to basics
Yes.
at some point, and you should always be doing that, no
Yes.
matter what market you're in. But
Yes.
listen, I want to dabble into some more personal stuff before we go back into business. And I know that I look at you as somebody who's bulletproof. I just know how you operate in business, and I've known you for a long time, and I know you've gone through some adversity,
Yeah.
growing up, in your life, and I feel like adversity is handled by everybody differently, and that's what kind of makes you as a person, to get through certain things and to not forget about it, or not that it doesn't matter, but to be able to continue to go forward, and not that it doesn't affect you, but to not let it really weigh you down and continue to do what you have to do. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Talk about some of the stuff you went through. I know you said you lost. You said you lost 4 grandparents in 1 month growing up.
Yeah, when I was 14 years
'Cause
old.
I have 2 grandmothers left, but I lost both my grandfathers. I loved grandparents are the best. So I can't imagine.
Yeah, it was tough. Unfortunately, I got dealt a bunch of loss early on. So I was 14, and 2 of my great grandmothers and 2 of the regular grandmothers passed away. It was 26 days. It was June of 2004. Yeah, 2004. It was right around when school was letting out, and I remember my teachers just saying, another person died? And I said, yeah, it's my great grandmother, my regular grandmother. And I remember my teachers would come to my house and bring in food, and it was really tough for the family. I mean, obviously at that age, you're
How old were you again?
14.
14.
Yeah, so it hits everybody hard, but at the time, I guess it wasn't, as devastating. I was very close to my grandparents, but
I feel like you
it
don't
was
have the same emotions. Even like
Yeah.
now, I feel like I'd be more emotional when
Yes.
something like that happens.
the way you're connected to people is a lot
Yeah.
different.
I want life to slow down now.
Yeah,
I used to want to speed up life.
Yeah. You're looking for your drive. When you're 14, you're like, 2 more years till I get my permit. So there's a lot going on, with social aspects and, sports in high school, whatever. But yeah, so that was a tough time to get through. But I think one of the things that really helped me, just from like you were talking about, like a moving forward and not getting stuck in those spots and just kind of carrying on, was I've always been a very positive person. As a young kid, always a smile on my face.
From the minute we met you,
Yeah.
from the minute the guys on the rest of the team met you.
Yeah,
Even when we used to
always.
see each other at the office, you would walk in and forget it. It
Yeah.
was like the light in the room. and
Yeah,
it's
I
amazing
appreciate
to be
that.
way.
Yeah, so I've always had that, a little spark. So it really just has never been in my nature to really dwell on things like that. So, and people had always encouraged me, even from when I was young. Like you kind of like have a light in the room, and you have that spark, and always bring that, always bring that. So going through that, I don't think I felt it as much with my grandparents. Just like the loss, I feel it more now, like you said. But I think the big one was when I was 16. My best friend died. He got cancer. Ryan. Yeah, and that was tough because he was like my best friend. So getting through that was challenging because he was kind of like he was like my school buddy, and well, a little side, little segue going back even further. So I was homeschooled. So I was homeschooled K through 7.
Wow.
Yeah, so my first year of public school was 8th grade.
Wow.
My mom just thought, she had like a teaching background, and she said I could teach my kids better than, anybody else. So,
that's
we had to
amazing.
get curriculums and whatever, and she would send our grades into the school system and all that. So me and my brother really wanted to play sports. So 8th grade, we could play sports. So we said, we really want to go to school.
Yeah.
So, but Ryan he was on all my travel teams growing up through before I was even in school. And then, so him passing when I was in 11th grade. That sucked. It was really hard, but kind of the same thing. I just really tried to stay positive. I always looked at like a glass half full mentality. I really, I always inherently just immediately went to somebody's got it worse.
Yeah.
I just never, I was like, you know what? All the things that I have are still more than a lot of people. And so I think that was one of the things that really kept me going. And then the hardest thing, obviously, so I lost my mom too at 18. So yeah, it was a tough teen years. And my mom was clearly the hardest one. I mean, that was devastating. She was like my rock. But Even in that, I always thought, so my mom's mom passed. So my mom's mom was 51 when my mom's mom was 51 when she died, and when my mom passed, she was 53. So even at that, I looked at it, I was like, I got 2 more years with my mom than she got with her mom. Like I even looked at little things like that, anything that you could grasp just to be like, you know what? There's some blessing in this. There's some good in this. You have to look at the good when you're in a situation like that.
I'm sure that completely changed your perspective on life and just time you have with people, because
Yeah.
a lot of people, say, not they don't say the wrong things intentionally to the people they love, but they sometimes don't appreciate every moment. You get into a disagreement with somebody,
yeah.
you don't talk to them for a couple of weeks. Who knows what could happen during those couple of weeks or days or even minutes.
Well, I mean, it definitely puts things in perspective, especially since then and all the way through now.
Yeah.
You really try to value like what you're saying to people and how that could negatively impact and what that really means. You try to be a lot more intentional with your relationships in general. Because you do know what the alternative is. You can't say anything ever again.
Yeah, no,
So,
of course.
Yeah.
How'd you get the news that your mom passed away? When was that? Were you in school?
So I was in my freshman year of college.
Wow.
And
you were away. St. Joe's, you said.
Yeah, Patchogue. Yeah, local. So yeah, commuter school. So I was always local. So she got diagnosed with breast cancer. So that was in the fall of 2008. So it was like October-ish. She got diagnosed and then went through treatments. Everything was awesome. She was making like a full recovery. Then in like April, May-ish of 2009, I actually came home. I don't think I ever told anybody this. I came home from work one day when I was bartending.
A few people on this podcast opened up about things they never, like my buddy Jared, who you've met. He lost his mother growing up too, and he never spoke about that to public. And it's a people,
Yeah, it's wild. I hadn't thought about this in a long time. Yeah, so I came home from work, and she was crawling around the house, and I said, "Mom, what are you doing?" And she's crying, and she's like, I can't walk. I can't walk. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, my legs, I can't walk. So I picked her up. I brought her in her room. And I put on her favorite soundtrack. And I'm like, just sleep, like rest it off. Maybe it's the treatments or whatever, And
chemo makes you weak. My brother had breast cancer also in 2012.
Oh wow,
when I
okay,
was in high
yeah.
school,
So and chemo, radiation, all that, it
she
screws up.
she gets sick every week now.
Your immune system.
shot.
Oh, so so I did that, and a day or two later, my dad called me, and he said, "You got to get to the hospital." I said, "What's going on?" He's like, "Mom's not doing well." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And yeah, so rushed to the hospital, and she was unconscious, hooked up to everything.
Oh shit!
And I just had no idea what was going on. And
yeah, everything was fine.
Yeah, I'm like, what? Yeah, what was like 2 weeks ago, a week ago, everything was like full systems go. The doctor was giving her a clear bill of health, like crazy. And so we found out within like 24 to 48 hours that the cancer was like everywhere. So apparently what she had, it was laying dormant. It was a smart cancer that like knew these treatments. So it like hid. And then once they stopped the radiation for 4 weeks, in that 4 weeks, it like exploded everywhere. And the scans didn't pick anything up. So it was like in her spine. And so why she couldn't walk. So it went in her spine. So it actually paralyzed her from the waist down. So so she came back though. So we were in a room and they basically were like, this is the end. And she's like, it's going to be okay, comforting us, which was just, the strength of, a million men. And, it was horrendous. Me and my brother were a wreck. And,
can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And she ended up passing like 3 weeks later. Yeah, it was like quick. It was like maybe 4 or 5 weeks from it's really bad to, yeah. So, yeah, it was great though. My family is awesome, and I have a bunch of first cousins, and
that's nice.
Yeah, everybody came up like they all are out of state, so
comforting.
they all came to New York for weeks, and they stayed with us, and my friends were amazing, and definitely I don't think there could have been a better support system.
Yeah, I was gonna say that plays a big role, especially in not getting past it, but just being okay with getting through it.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
can only imagine something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just something like that. I can't explain something like that. You know, again, like saying my mother had breast cancer when I was in high school, and I feel like I was still younger. Where not that we were young, I was 17 years old, or maybe 16 years old. But I feel like you don't think the way like you think like now at this age. Like maybe you don't realize what's really going on. Just like you
Hmm.
said, you're like, what the hell's going on? You know, what the heck is going on? I kind of thought the same thing when that happened.
Yeah.
Like I can't even like what's going on. Like it's like you don't think
It's
it's
not
real.
real.
Yeah, it's not real.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not like you're not paying attention to it, but
Yeah.
it's like you don't think it's real.
Yeah.
And that's something that is the realest thing around. You know, there's so many people that it happens like instantaneously.
Yeah.
You know, both my grandfathers. You know, right away. You know, it was quick.
Yeah.
You know, with cancer. You know, and it's
Such a
just
terrible
it's never.
disease,
Yeah, it's a
man.
terrible disease.
And now everybody, Long Island is like the cancer hub. I
Yeah.
feel like you're like the outlier if you don't know somebody that's struggling with some type of cancer or something. It's just wild.
Yeah.
So
You know, dealing with all that loss, how do you think that changed you as a like dealing with that adversity? You know, what do you think that, you know, how did you learn to deal with that and be okay with all of that? You know, grandparents and that best friend, mother. That's.
I don't know if you ever really.
I mean, I know you said like you're you know, you always looked at things like somebody always has it worse than me.
Yeah.
That's a good, I guess, way to look at it.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
You know, no matter which way.
I don't know if you ever really. I think I just kind of. It was like just keep the only direction is forward.
Yeah, like what are you gonna do?
Yeah, like there's not, there's really no other way to look at it. You just keep moving forward. Like I said, I had great friends, great family. They were always in the picture, and time went on. And you obviously you have your moments, and you have your memories, and you reminisce, and it's great to go over old times with family, and the people that knew the loved ones that were lost. But yeah, kind of just kept moving forward, and also just keeping in the back of your head, the tools that they gave you. Like all the upbringing, especially being homeschooled, like she taught me.
Yeah.
I didn't have a Miss So and So elementary school teacher. It was my mom. So like all the things that are ingrained through those childhood years, you have that foundation built, kind of like what we were talking about before.
Yeah.
And it. I don't want to say it prepared me, but it kind of prepared me. It was. I had the right. I had the right set of things put in place early enough that really allowed me to, I guess, not jump ship or not not take an alternate course.
Yeah, no, of course. That's unreal.
Yeah,
The things life throws at you sometimes.
it's crazy.
And again, I just feel like it's how you handle them, and there's no other way, like you said, to go but forward. What's the other option?
I think something that a lot of people don't realize is just human beings in general. We're so resilient, and I think a lot of people they tend to harp on, this happened to me, or woe is me, and this, and it's hard. I'm not saying that it's an easy thing, and I don't want to discount the pain of it, but I think that we underestimate the true resiliency of what we're made of, and how you like what you really can do when you just keep moving. I think the moving forward, like as long as you lean forward into it, no matter what, you're gonna come out on the other side in some capacity. It's just you just can't stay stagnant. You just gotta keep the motion.
100%.
Yeah.
You have to keep the wheels in motion. That's
Yeah.
why even like going back 6 months ago when I started getting into the fitness journey, I feel like the personal development journey, and that's why I love this podcasting, because I feel like people knew me as like the mortgage person in the mortgage business for however long we've been doing it, and it's nice to talk about some different stuff. And like I said, have people on here. There's people that have spoke about things that they've never felt not comfortable, but I feel like now it's become a thing where people are not just getting things off their chest, but it's nice to be able to speak to other people about that, because when people watch your videos or when people look at the stuff that we're speaking about, you help people.
Yeah.
You help people going through challenging
going through
times
right
or
now, somebody.
adversity. Of course,
Yeah,
there's people
yeah.
going through the same things that we're
Not alone.
talking about. Yeah, not alone. So I'm sure it's nice to have that support system, like you said, with the family and the friends, and to
Absolutely.
have that. That's very important, I feel like, in life.
Absolutely. And I
There's
think
some people that don't have that when they go through those times.
that's what I was gonna get at. I think when you don't have that, because like I was fortunate enough to already have it in my corner. I didn't have to go looking for it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that if anybody is struggling with something like that, or if you're, whatever your circumstances may be, you may have to go one step further and actually have to seek out those support systems and a source of strength. And that's even harder because when you're in that state, you're like, somebody help me. You feel like you're drowning, and then you're like, now I have to go find it myself. So, but I sometimes it's like God gives his hardest battles to his strongest soldiers. Like you gotta sometimes you gotta just pick it up and go out and get it. And so anybody out there that's dealing with something like that, if you are in a situation where you don't have in your corner the support or the family or the friends, or go find it, because there's so many people that are willing to help, especially now that you're not alone. There's so many people that have dealt with this, and
It's the one good thing that came out of social media.
yeah, we're all connected. We're all connected
the one good
in an
thing.
instant. In an instant, you send a DM, whatever, you make a post, and I guarantee you'll have people that are an immediate support system.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
That's definitely one of the big benefits, and that's why I love doing this, because you never know something that somebody could say that, again, helps somebody or saves their life or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
You never know. So,
Absolutely.
but going back to what I was saying, getting into like starting the fitness journey, which you go to the gym
Oh
consistently,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
How do you start?
I've been following you too, man. You're in there every morning.
Talk about what's your routine? You go in the morning or what?
So I'm on a little bit of a different one right now, because I'm on kind of my own new agenda. I gained a couple of pounds, so I'm trying to shed it off. So I've been doing mornings. I like the morning cardio because I'm not a big morning. I don't have the oomph in the morning to like lift. I don't have that, like, I'm in the morning, I'm like coffee, kind of just getting my bearings, but I can do cardio. I can run, I can hit the bike. So I've been doing that in the mornings. I try to do a little bit of both. I do like 20 or 30 minutes on the treadmill. I'll do like some HIIT stuff, and then I'll do 20 or 30 minutes on the bike.
Yeah.
Get the gears flowing for the day, get all the cobwebs out.
Of course.
And a couple times a week, I try to do 2-a-days. I like working out after work, which sounds a little counter,
As long as you're doing something in the morning, though.
Yeah, the morning's important, man, because the morning really does set your day. If you don't set your day, if you're not reading something or if you're not getting good things into you at the beginning of the day, it's same thing with nutrition too. Food, if you're eating garbage, if you're having sugar cereals and Pop-Tarts and bagels loaded with carbs and all that stuff, it's terrible for you. You don't feel motivated. That's why you get that 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, coffee hangover and things like that, because you just don't have the energy. So the mornings are the most important thing.
Yeah.
Get the blood flowing in the morning, get it going, and then if you're like me, you go to the gym after work and you get all your FUs out, all the things, all the nonsense you went throughout the day.
Yeah.
After all that, you go to the gym and you really get a good pump going. So.
No, of course.
Yeah.
I've tried to do both, and I still do both. It really depends. I mean, I try to stay consistent in the morning, no matter what it is, but I've been trying to go back at night to do the 2-a-days, a couple times a week, which is nice.
Yeah.
It is nice to it's nice to be at a point in my life where for the first time ever I actually enjoy going.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm disappointed if I don't go.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never been at that point.
It.
Yeah, I look forward to it now, which is exciting because first of all, I've had a boat for a couple of years, and every time I'm on my boat, I look, people think
I'm trying to take pictures.
People think because you look a little skinny, it doesn't mean you look good.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're healthy either.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're healthy because I haven't ever eaten healthy. And that's also something I'm working on because that's not something I've figured out yet.
Yeah.
I feel like the diet is something that people don't realize.
Yeah.
Or maybe they do realize it's very important. Plays a very important role besides just putting the time in at the gym. I feel like the diet's key.
What you put in is what you get out, man.
Yeah.
It's probably more important. I mean, I think that exercise is like, I would exercise over diet just because I need it for mental clarity and for sanity. But yeah, the nutrition is so important. And I notice it now, even when I'll snack and I'll have chocolate and I'll have this because I'm a big sweet guy. I love my ice cream, But you feel like crap. You feel like garbage, It's especially if you eat it at night and then the next morning you're like you feel like you have a hangover. You're like, oh, you're bloated, you're this and that.
Bro,
Terrible.
I've never felt like that in my life until it must be 30.
Yeah,
Getting close to 30 because
30's big.
it's my next birthday, and I feel like I've never in my life until recently the things I eat at night, the next morning I'm like, wow, what the heck happened? And I've never felt like that. I could eat anything.
Yep.
But it happened a couple of weeks ago where I trained boxing Mondays and Thursdays in the morning, and I showed up Monday morning, and I couldn't even walk in the ring, because what I ate the night before, it was the first time I ever said, like, oh, my God, I can't even believe what I just did to myself.
Yep.
And I haven't learned.
Not even the physical aspect, too. Don't you feel cloudy? You feel like you
100%.
can't,
It's
get in a
it's like a
groove.
hangover.
You can't, you don't have.
And then boxing at 6 o'clock in the morning doesn't help. So
How am I going to do this?
it's horrible.
Oh,
It's
my
horrible.
God.
It is it is what it is. But
Well, so what's so on the fitness stuff? So do you have like a goal on? Are you trying to get to X weight? Are you trying to lift this weight? Are you trying to look like the six pack? Like, what do you have like a?
yeah, I don't. I
All
just,
the above.
yeah, I just wanted to. I wanted to first get consistent
Okay.
and actually get into a good routine where I know that it's a part of my life now, no matter what happens.
Yep.
And I think I'm finally at that point because
This is what I do.
yeah, this is what I do.
Yep.
That's a part of my life, and I feel like that's a big part of the personal development journey that is so important now.
Hell yeah.
The fitness. I feel like no matter who you talk to, all the successful and a lot of the hyper successful people out there, which is who I'd like to become one
Yeah.
day. Those people preach how important fitness and your routine, is. It plays a huge role in, again, like you said, how you start your day, and it plays a huge role in the success that you're going to see in your personal life, and that rolls over into your business.
Absolutely. Everything rolls into one another.
Yeah. So what is my plan? I want to be consistent. Do I want to, weak or not weak, I want to obviously feel good about myself.
Yeah.
Looking good, of course, is nice as well, but it's really about feeling good for me. I want to feel good, and I've never really felt good. You might look okay, but I don't feel good.
Yep.
But it is amazing how within a couple of months you start to see, not the results yet that you want to see, but, little by little, it's amazing how you do feel.
And you
It makes a
feel
big
good.
difference.
So the best part about it is that as you're feeling good the whole time, the looks and all the aesthetics of
Comes with it.
it comes with it just organically.
I'm going for a 16-pack.
yeah. Get them all. I want hands in my neck.
You played sports growing up? Was the
played
fitness
baseball,
thing always a
football.
part? Baseball and football, right?
Yeah, but I was never really. So I had shoulder surgery when I was in 11th grade.
You look like a football player.
So I was more baseball. So I was thin. Yeah, I was. I graduated high school about 178 pounds. Right now I'm like 220.
I wrestled 103 in 8th grade.
Oh wow.
103. Wow. And I shot up in like 10th, 11th grade, something like that.
Yeah, I was. I didn't fluctuate much, so I grew a lot. So I was 140 pounds in 8th grade, but I was like 5'4". And then
You were 5'4".
I was 5'4" until 10th grade.
What happened?
From 10th to 11th grade, I grew 7 inches in 1 year. I had to get braces again for the
You
second.
grew like the whole height of some other people.
Yeah.
In 1 year. Like, what the
Dude,
heck is going on?
crazy. Yeah, but my weight, so I was just a beanpole. I was, 100, I was like 6'1", 170, I think it was 175, 178 pounds. But then, so after that, after high school is when I, started to put on some weight, and, that's when you have a car and you can get fast food all the time and ice cream.
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah.
What are some of the, to get back into the business thing a little
Yep.
bit, because I don't like talking about the negative stuff so much. I know
Yeah.
it's like I said, it's nice to again speak about that, to help other people and to give back, but it's also nice to try to keep the mind a little
Absolutely,
positive.
get focused.
What are the plans for this year? What are some goals you have?
So
What do you see happening, in what we do, kind of?
Well, so I definitely see good things happening. I think that we're kind of, I think we kind of hit the top of the peak, and I think things are kind of going to be downhill for a little bit here, which is reassuring. I feel good about that. Rate environment is working in our favor. Definitely see some big rate falls this year. I think, especially by Q3, Q4 of 2024. Also, side note, any of our conspiracy theorists out there, I'm a little bit of tinfoil hat. Government debt is due in 2024, and our interest payments are 130% of GDP. So we can't even make our interest payments with where the rates are right now, so we have to refi. So the Fed rate's got to drop way down so they can refi all the debt.
You're an educated gentleman.
Yeah. So Fed rate's coming. I don't know if we'll go to zero again like COVID. I don't think that's going to happen.
0%?
Yeah, the Fed rate, but I think we will see the Fed rate. They're saying 3. There's going to be 3 cuts this year.
It's amazing the Fed funds rate was 0.
Yeah, for a while too. What, 18 months, I think.
Like, it's free.
Yeah, free money. Yeah.
that work
But yeah, I think we'll see like maybe like two. I think we're at 5.25 to 5.5 right now. I think we'll see probably 2.5. I think they'll probably cut a full 300 basis points this year, just so because I do think they're going to try to refi the debt, and also it's an election year, so they got to really make it look like everything's copacetic, and we're looking out, so. But that culminated with everything else. I mean, yeah, rates awesome, helps our industry tremendously. But my goals really are more geared on my own stuff, not just numbers. I really want to be more intentional. Intentional is like my word of this year. I want to be intentional in everything that I do, not just business. I want to be intentional about my workouts. I want to be intentional about my health. I want to be intentional about my relationships. I want to be intentional about everything that comes into my life, because I feel like intentionality is really what is a catalyst for growth in all areas. So if you really give a shit, you'll be intentional about it. And then that spreads virally through all the people that you come into contact with.
Right.
So I'm just trying to be intentional about every aspect of my life, and kind of like similar to what you said about routine and having every day. It's not, oh, I'm going to try to work out today. It's like, no, I work out Monday through Friday.
Right.
Or I work out 4 days or, whatever. I get up at 6 a.m. every day. So those little things and keeping to them and having consistency.
Yeah.
Because I feel like consistency, and I've struggled with this for a long time, but I think the true recipe to success is consistency, because consistency compounds. And as long as you can have your wavering moments, but as long as you hop back on the ship right away, you might falter one day or maybe 2 days or whatever, but as long as you get right back on.
Right back on track.
You pick up where you left off.
Yep.
You just can't let it snowball. You can't let, you can't go, 2 weeks or 3 weeks and then you're like, you're dragging ass and you're, I can't, how am I going to get back in the gym, So I think it's just show up. Put your best foot forward, be intentional about everything you do, and that's kind of where my rudder is steering my ship for 2024.
That's some good stuff.
Yeah.
No, listen, that's something like I put out a video yesterday where I said that my thing this year is spreading positivity, making sure I give value to whoever's in my life. I feel like cuz I know, like, in my office, when I'm in a mood, it kind of creates the mood in the office.
You set the tone.
And you don't realize that, no matter who you are, people feed off each other, especially in the type of environment that we're in, in our businesses, and even in life, like you said, and like other people have said about you, being the light in the room, people feed off each other. So you can't have that negative mindset no matter where you are in life, because other people don't deserve that.
Yeah, you don't know who you're going to affect.
You don't know who you're going to affect, and other people handle those things differently.
I love this saying, and I overuse it all the time, and I tell a lot of my referral partners this, and just people that work for the company and all that, but a rising tide raises all ships. And if you have to be the one to grab the reins to say, all right, you know what, I'm going to be the one that brings the tide, because I know that if I do it, it's going to create a buzz. And then all of a sudden, as the tide rolls in, everybody is going to start being uplifted, and everybody is going to start doing better and feeling better about themselves and encouraged and excited and just energy. And so I think that is a huge problem with a lot of what's going on today, is people don't realize the impact that they have. They don't realize how much you bring to the table. Yeah. In any situation, it could be, you saying hello and at a Starbucks when you're getting coffee, like, hey, how's your day today? What's going on? Like, even just little things like that, you could brighten somebody's day. You could immediately shift the terrible morning that they were having, or anything as simple as that. So I think we all kind of have a responsibility just to be better and watch how everybody gets better in the process, and I think it's super important.
That is super important, because I feel like my job and the reason I do what I do is for other people.
Yeah.
It's nice to obviously take care of yourself, but I have a family, I have a daughter, which is something that, I could never
Crazy.
Going back to hanging out with the cigarettes in the parking lot, which again, we don't do anymore. I never thought that at 20, I was 20, I think 6 or 27 years old when I had my daughter.
It's amazing though.
And having an almost 3-year-old now is it's one of the craziest, most amazing things, in the world.
Yeah.
wouldn't necessarily say it changes you in like a different way. It makes you realize that, like, yeah, that's all that really matters, no matter what happens in life. But it makes you want to do like the stuff that I'm doing even more, because I want to make sure she don't have to and doesn't make sure she doesn't have to deal with, not the problems, but this world is challenging.
Yeah.
And not that you want to give, my opinion, not that you want to give somebody a handout in life,
Yeah.
But you want to make it. You want to make it as a parent, I believe. You want to make it as easy as possible. Especially, I look at my daughter in a different way. Maybe a son would be a little different, because I was raised with tough love, which I appreciate that so much from my father. Now, looking back 10 years ago when I used to get mad, at him for being disciplined.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that he was that way, because it teaches you to have the old school morals and values that you need to, be the best version of yourself in life, I feel like.
Amen.
Amen
to
that's
that.
yeah, that's something that I feel like is very important.
And as a dad too, you almost feel like you got to set the example.
You have to. The daughter's different. I want to do everything I possibly can to make life as great as possible for her and as easy as possible. You can't even explain how different and how amazing it is. But
It's beautiful too, buddy.
what's your plans, man? When are you having kids? One day is it on the
Oh, I
on the
definitely-
agenda at some
100%,
point? Oh,
100%.
So you do. Okay, you want to
Have an amazing girl now.
Nice.
Everything
Awesome.
is awesome with her. So really looking forward to the future with her. And
Yeah.
I think that the stars have definitely aligned.
You want to have a few mini Jeffs. That's all I care about.
Yeah. My dad would be happy.
No, of course.
Heard that conversation more than once. But no, yeah, kids definitely in the picture. Hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah.
And definitely excited for that.
Yeah, so going back to the beginning to to reconnect with you a couple months ago and to get on the golf course.
Yeah.
that was a fun time. I can't wait till this summer. It's nice to get into that environment. I'm going to use it more of like a business tool this year also,
We were
because
talking about that.
the referral partners love golf, and
yeah.
it's nice when you're a good golfer. because
It's speaking from.
they look at you like,
Yeah.
what's going on?
Yeah.
And,
Guy drives the crap out of the ball.
Come on, you.
When I get it.
You're like one of the few people that
When I get
you
it.
spank it out there, but
Yeah.
it's a good way, I feel like, to it's a good way to connect with anybody in life.
Yeah.
I feel like golf, that was a big part of my life, not growing up. I started late. I started in 11th grade in high school. I was a lefty pitcher, played baseball. I got tendonitis in my arm, so my arm wasn't in good shape, so I knew I wasn't going to go anywhere with baseball at that point.
Yeah.
So I realized that I have to, I like to compete with something, so what's it going to be? And I played a few times growing up with my grandmother, in New York, and I never really thought that golf was something that I would fall in love with or enjoy playing. But once I realized that I need to figure something out, like what do I want to do next after baseball, I remember going to the driving range with my uncle, and I was never like really talented in the beginning hitting a golf ball. I would go to the range, I would do okay there. We'd go to the golf course, I'd shoot 100. It wasn't like anything impressive.
Yeah.
And fast forward, figure I don't know, a year or two later, I got obsessed with it. So after that first time, I became obsessed. Like I want to be really good at this now because I wasn't good yet.
Yeah.
So I would go to the range throughout the winter under the heat. I would put the time in and I would slowly progress and get better. And then I remember that next summer, maybe a year or two, or maybe the first year after I started playing, I was at Bethpage playing with Matty D.
Whoa.
This is
Matty D.
this has got to be 15 years ago at this point. And we went out on the Bethpage Green golf course and we got through the round and I shot an 82 or an 83.
Oh.
And I forget how old I was, maybe 16 or whatever it was. And not that that's a great score.
Oh, hey,
but,
80 is a good golf.
coming from somebody that I was shooting 100. So I went out and I shot an 82 or an 83. So I was like, wait a second, I could play this game.
Yeah.
That just motivated me and made me realize that, wow, I could maybe do something better. I could do better than that.
Yeah.
Obviously, if I went from 100 to 80, how do I get to 70 and 60?
Yeah.
How do I figure that out?
Yeah.
So that pushed me even more. I put the time in. I ended up joining the high school team. I played, for the last 2 years of high school, and then ended up going to Nassau Community College for a year or so. But during that time, after I shot that 82, then at 79, 77, 76, 72, 69, the scores just kept getting better. And then I was like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
I maybe got a little ahead of myself. I didn't ever put the time in and the practice in like I should have.
Yeah.
I was the guy that showed
You were a
up.
Tiger hitting
No,
1,000 putts a day.
I was the guy that showed up to the tournament at the last second.
Yeah.
I do well and compete, sometimes win or whatever it was, but I wasn't the one that stayed consistent with putting the time in. If this was now, forget it. I would be so
Right.
much more disciplined, knowing that this is something that
Because you had a gift.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. I thought. I actually thought that I was going to do something with golf.
Yeah.
I tried. I don't want to say it was the only reason I went to college, but I ended up going to Nassau for a year. My father didn't want me to go away, and I don't think it was best that I went away. So I ended up going to Nassau for a year.
Okay.
And eventually it just got to a point where, I played well on the team, won a few tournaments. The next season, my grades weren't like good, or my attendance, something happened where I wasn't allowed to like be on the team. And then, that was a strange point in my life, which I've kind of talked about before, where I ended up working at some random diner. My parents were mad at me because I dropped out of school. It was a time in life where I had no idea what the heck was going on, to be honest with you.
Learning experience.
Learning experience. Looking back, I would have done things completely different.
But it made you.
Yeah,
Get who you are.
you can't change anything.
Nope. A great thing, not to cut you off, but real quick, all the tough things that you look back on that you've been through.
Yep.
I heard a great way of thinking about it from Les Brown, the motivational speaker guy.
Yeah.
And he said, think of those times as character building moments.
Exactly.
And if you can put that mentality on all the things that you think that you did wrong in the past, and character building, it built what you got today. So
Yeah, no, 100%. And
he's still a hell of a golfer, guys.
on. once in a while.
Yeah.
Um,
The member guest, what'd you shoot? 71 at Baiting Hollow?
no practice.
Yeah, no practice. Guy shows
A
up.
couple drinks.
Yep, couple drinks. Yep.
Can't say the name of the
yeah,
drink.
yeah. Name disclosed. Yeah, the name is disclosed.
Yeah, not that I would change anything, but I would have done a few things differently.
Of course.
Even like business-wise back
Yeah.
then. I would have started at like 18, 19,
Yeah.
20, like more serious, like, oh, this is what I want to do. Like, if I knew that this is what I ended up doing,
The potential.
yeah, it would have been a different ball game. Even like going back to when I finally ended up getting into the business, it took me freaking 4 years to get licensed because I didn't take it seriously because I still had that mentality that, whatever. I didn't know what my mentality was back then, but
Yeah.
I didn't take it seriously in the beginning. And like you said, you can't dwell on anything that happens in the past. If you're going to sit there and dwell, that's going to set you so far back that
Festers.
it festers with you. How are you going to achieve anything?
Yeah.
In your personal or your business.
And it's
or-
like the whole that cliche, like there's a reason the windshield is 50% bigger than the rearview mirror. It's like it's nice to glance back once in a while, but like we said before, the only
Forward.
direction's forward, man.
Yeah.
You just keep pushing along, baby.
And that starts with who you surround yourself around. What are some of the lines they say? If 5 people in your life
The
do something,
average, yeah,
you'll be the 6th.
Yep. You're the
whether
average of
it's
the closest 5 people in your life.
yeah, whether it's good or bad. If you're around people that don't bring you up and they're not making the right decisions, and it's not that they're bad people. I always say this.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people in life that they might make, not that they're poor decisions, they might not have the same mindset as you.
Yep.
And I know
That's
that
okay.
yeah, that is okay, completely okay. And I just know that I have goals in life, in my personal life and in my business life, and to take care of my family. And you can't surround yourself with certain people,
Yep.
that aren't gonna, bring you up and push you forward. Because it's contagious.
Yeah.
It's contagious. Who you put yourself around.
It's like square peg round hole stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta
Doesn't work.
you gotta control the things you can control, because the one thing you can't do is you can't control the things that happen to you, that sometimes in life that maybe it's timing, or maybe it's who knows what it is.
Yeah.
You know, there's things that come at you in life sometimes that you can't control. And again, how you handle those times, you know, that's what I feel like builds you as a person. But
Absolutely. It's like trying to freaking predict where lightning's going to strike. You know,
I've
it
heard
just
some
happens.
crazy stories on the golf
You know?
course. Getting struck by lightning.
Oh, my
My grandmother told me a crazy story once where I forget if she said she saw somebody on the golf course get struck by lightning and die on the golf course.
No way.
Yeah, it's a true story. Yeah. I'm going to ask her actually because
Oh, my God.
either her or somebody she knows was on the golf course and got struck by lightning in Florida and died on the golf course.
Wow.
Going out for a round of golf.
Dude.
I was trying to hang out.
What about the odds of that? Poor fella. Probably on vacation. Probably was having a nice 3-day weekend. Oh, my
not
goodness. Not funny. Oh, well, you got to laugh about it now, I guess.
Yeah, no, of
What's
course.
done is done.
Jeff, is there anything else you want to give to the? You seem to you go deep into certain topics, which I love. It's nice to be able to give that back to people. And
Yeah.
anything else you want to share? You know, before we wrap this up, that some advice you would give because you've been through, forget it. You've been through so many things that again would set so many people. I feel like backwards.
Yeah.
And I keep saying the same thing. It's how you deal with the adversity.
Yeah.
What's one more thing you would say to people maybe going through a tough time, or how do you help them get out of it and realize that the only way is forward?
It sounds very like rudimentary, but
Yeah.
things always work out. And it sounds like, all right, it's like, hosh posh, but they do. They always work out. And as long as you are committed to whatever you're doing, obviously you have to find out what you want to do first and where you want to go. And that's a whole nother, podcast of,
I feel like that's a
how to
stressful
find
thing
direction.
for young people nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, what do I do in life?
Especially because now we're all connected to everything. There's so many options, and it's like sensory overload. It's like, how do I pick one? But I mean, things always work out, and I think that as long as you, keep to your roots, as long as your roots were good, try to find good people in your life.
Yep.
If you don't have them, seek them out.
They're
Like-
out there.
Like we said, there's something with social media that's a good aspect where you can connect with anybody in the world at any time. And if you need help, if you need support, reach out. And I think people would be surprised how willing people are to offer help if you would just ask.
Yep.
It's kind of like anything in sales.
You
Like,
gotta ask for business.
yeah,
That's what you
ask
tell
the
people.
question. Ask the question. What's the worst that can happen? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. It's like ask the question and you'll be okay. Because there are people there that care. There's people out there that want to see everybody do well. That it's not, the world is not all woe is me and doom is gloom.
Yep.
There is a light at the end of the tunnel. You just got to be willing to look for it sometimes. And yeah, appreciate you having me, bro. This was
Listen,
awesome.
That wraps it up, brother.
Yeah.
You did amazing. I
Thank you.
appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, appreciate you.